as Pertamina Grand Prix of Indonesia. Transportation Ministry outlines prioritized railways projects in 2022. Good evening, it's Thursday, Februari 10, 2022. Market Headlines is ready to provide you information from business and economy. And with me, Fajar Wayong, you're watching Market Headlines. And let's start Market Headlines. The government, through the Ministry of State-Owned Enterprises, has ensured the readiness for the MotoGP Mandalika in March, following the inauguration of the event under the label Pertamina Grand Prix of Indonesia. The inauguration was marked by the signing of a cooperation agreement between Pertamina and Dorna Sports, which was carried out directly by the President Director of Pertamina, Nike Widiawati, and the Managing Director of Dorna Sports, Carlos Espeleta. Minister of State-Owned Enterprises Erick Thohir said that the MotoGP event in Mandalika would be an event for Indonesia to show off in the eyes of the world, because this big event will also promote Indonesian tourism, especially Lombok. Moreover, Erick said that this MotoGP event would run for the next 10 years.
Nah, karena itu, saya rasa event MotoGP ini kenapa ditangani secara serius? Karena ini event yang berlangsung tidak sekali-sekali di Indonesia, berbeda dengan kejuaraan dunia tadi ataupun Asian Games. Tetapi event ini insya Allah berjalan selama 10 tahun di Indonesia. Artinya ada kontinuitas dalam memposisikan Indonesia di dunia sebagai tadi.
Tentu ini merupakan event yang sangat bagus untuk kita menjalankan international exposure, global exposure. Karena ini akan disiarkan di lebih dari 200 negara, 428 juta rumah tangga, dan 7 juta penonton. Nah, inilah saatnya kita memperlihatkan kepada dunia keindahan Indonesia, di mana ini street circuit pertama dengan view natural beauty yang luar biasa.
For the effectiveness of the program, Bappenas plans to start integrating the MSME development budget policy. The integration policy includes the budget for MSMEs in 28 ministries and institutions, of which the budget from 8 ministries and agencies will be transferred to the Ministries of Cooperatives and SMEs. The government, through the Ministry of National Development Planning, or Bappenas, will continue to evaluate the effectiveness of the MSME development budget. Deputy for Population and Employment at Bappenas, Pungki Sumadi, stated that his party planned to remove the MSME program in 8 ministries and institutions because it was deemed ineffective. From the results of the current evaluation, there is one ministry or institution whose budget is only 2 billion rupiah, so it is considered ineffective for developing MSMEs. Another example of ineffectiveness can be seen from the number of programs implemented without any coordination with the local government. It was even found that one MSME actor could receive 5 to 6 times the same training in a year.
UMKM ya Pak ya, di mana kita baru mengidentifikasi 8 KL yang bisa kita hilangkan program UMKM-nya, karena menurut kami memang betul-betul tidak efektif. Dan ini angkanya kita serahkan kepada Kementerian KUKM untuk mendorong fungsinya yang baru sebagai leading sector di bidang UMKM. Nah, kenapa kita lakukan baru 8? Karena baru 8 inilah yang kita sempat lakukan evaluasinya, di mana salah satu contoh, banyak sekali program dilaksanakan tetapi tidak koordinasi dengan Pemda setempat, sehingga penerima pelatihan itu bisa mendapatkan 5-6 kali dalam setahun.
Bappenas also found that the assistance provided by the ministry or institution to MSME actors was actually carried out by people who did not understand the ins and outs of MSMEs. Pungki emphasized that MSME assistance should be able to enable MSME actors to sell their goods and be absorbed by the market, so that mastery of market literacy and access to markets is very much needed. From Jakarta, Raharjo Patmo for IDX Channel. Meantime, the government ensures that tax instruments to support economic recovery and incentives provision will be consistently implemented. Through the law on harmonization of tax regulations, the Ministry of Finance ensures that MSMEs will only be subject to a final tax of 0.5% if they have a turnover of more than 500 million rupiah a year. In facing the challenges of economic recovery in 2022, the law on the harmonization of tax regulations is ensured to remain in favor of the recovery of MSMEs and lower middle-class groups. This is stated in the provisions of the non-taxable turnover limit for individual MSME taxpayers, which uses the final income tax rate. Finance Minister Sri Mulyani Indrawati explained that if the business turnover reached 700 million rupiah in a year, then 500 million turnover value is not subject to tax, so that only the turnover of 200 million will be subject to final income tax for SMEs at a rate of 0.5%. This is given to ensure the government's alignment with MSMEs in the short to long term.
Baru sisanya yang di atas 500 itu yang bayar pajak. Itu pun adalah bayarnya final, ya Pak ya. Final 0,5%. Jadi dalam hal ini, bagi Anda semuanya, umpamanya, wah omset usaha saya 700 juta setahunnya. Tidak berarti 700 juta kali 0,5%. Dari 700 juta dikurangi 500 juta dulu, 500 juta nggak kena pajak. Yang 200 juta sisanya baru bayar pajak 0,5%.
In accordance with the amendments to the income tax law in the harmonization of tax regulation law, individual taxpayers with a certain gross turnover are not subject to income tax on the share of turnover up to 500 million rupiah in one tax year. This form of partiality to MSMEs is expected to make it easier for individual MSME taxpayers to continue to develop their business activities. From Jakarta, Raharjo Patmo for IDX Channel. We're moving on to global update. New York governor announced the end of state's mask mandate for most indoor public places. Meanwhile, Toyota saw its profits fall by 21% for the last 3 months of 2021. More stories on today's International Minute. New York Governor Kathy Hochul-Wilson Wednesday announced the end of her state's mask mandate for most indoor public places. The New York Times reported, joining several states due to leave face covering rules as the latest COVID-19 surge eases. The Democratic governor intends to let the mask mandate, which has been challenged in court, expire rather than seeking to renew it, the newspaper said, citing 3 individuals briefed on the move. More than 90 people have died, and there are fears the death toll could rise after a cyclone battered Madagascar. Over 90,000 residents were left with damaged or destroyed homes after the storm hit the island's southeastern coast on Saturday. Initially, 29 people were reported to have died, but now a local MP has confirmed that figure is around 96, with fears mounting that the total could increase further. Toyota saw its profit fall by 21% for the last 3 months of 2021 as the global chip shortage hit production. The company said that its third quarter operating profit came in at 784.4 billion yen, or $6.8 billion. The world's best-selling car maker also cut its annual production target by 500,000 vehicles to 8.5 million. It comes as manufacturers around the world are struggling to find enough microprocessors for their products. SpaceX has lost dozens of satellites after they were hit by a geomagnetic storm a day after launch, causing them to fall from orbit and burn up. Such solar storms are caused by powerful explosions on the sun's surface, which spit out plasma and magnetic fields that can hit the Earth. The company owned by billionaire Elon Musk said up to 40 of 49 satellites from last week's launch were hit. They had been due to join its Starlink satellite internet project. IDX Channel reports. Jokowi pushes transformation in the press industry. Stay tuned on Market Headlines. We'll be right back.
Kini aplikasi mClears hadir di handphone Anda untuk memudahkan transaksi Anda. Informasi aktivitas clearing dan penjaminan tidak lagi hanya dapat diakses melalui komputer di kantor Anda, melainkan dapat diakses di mana saja dan kapan saja dalam genggaman Anda. Fitur-fitur mClears. Equity clearing dan settlement adalah fitur di mana Anda dapat melihat posisi kewajiban settlement anggota clearing hingga nilai alternate case settlement serta informasi gagal bayar. Risk management adalah fitur di mana Anda dapat melihat posisi trading limit, kolateral, MKBD, portofolio harian, risk charge anggota clearing dan kombinasi, serta nilai minimum cash collateral. Derivatif adalah fitur di mana Anda dapat melihat posisi trading limit, margin call, dan informasi clearing derivatif. Terkait pinjam-meminjam efek, terdapat fitur mengenai borrowing information dan lendable pool information, serta lending revenue dan borrowing fee. Serta menu lain yang menampilkan informasi mengenai haircut, risk charge saham, dan nilai harga penyelesaian harian dan harga penyelesaian final. Selain itu, Anda juga dapat mengakses fitur pengumuman, peraturan, dan informasi layanan KPEI pada aplikasi mClears. Download aplikasi mClears di App Store atau Google Play Store. Lakukan registrasi user Anda dengan menggunakan alamat email berdomain resmi yang sesuai dengan anggota clearing Anda. Setelah registrasi, Anda akan diberikan kode OTP di email Anda untuk verifikasi, dan aplikasi mClears Anda siap untuk digunakan. Anda dapat mengakses seluruh menu pada aplikasi mClears dengan melakukan aktivasi berlangganan premium yang dapat dilakukan dengan memilih menu Get Premium. Download aplikasinya sekarang, lakukan registrasi, dan dapatkan kemudahan dalam genggaman tangan Anda. Kemudahan informasi KPEI dalam genggaman Anda.
Welcome back on Market Headlines. Pertamina is conducting studies related to the increase in the price of its gasoline brand Pertamax. Pertamina Patraniaga says the company assessed the latest trend of oil prices that remain high. State-owned gas and oil firm Pertamina is conducting studies related to the increase in the price of its gasoline brand Pertamax. Pertamina's closest rival, Shell, meanwhile, had raised the price of its gasoline brand Shell Super, which has the same registered octane number or RO92 as Pertamax, since February 1st, 2022. At present, Pertamax is sold at 9,000 rupiah per liter. The last hike in the price was recorded in February 2020. As for Shell Super, its price had increased since February 1st, 2022, from 12,040 rupiah to 12,990 rupiah per liter. Acting Pertamina Patraniaga Corporate Secretary Irto Ginting said his side is still reviewing the price hike of Pertamax. He also said that the company assessed the trend of oil prices that remain high. Meantime, the global oil prices had jumped to their highest level in 7 years at the end of trading last Friday. As reported, Brent crude futures for March delivery rose by $2.16 or 2.4% to settle at $93.27 per barrel. IDX Channel reports. President Joko Widodo said the national press industry had been under pressure in the last 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition, the press industry is also facing challenges due to digital disruption and pressure from various giant foreign platforms that undermine the economic potential and influence of mainstream media. Jokowi said that the drastic change in the landscape of media competition presented various complicated competitions. For example, the emergence of alternative sources of information, the trend of information only chasing views or clicks, the amount of content that goes viral, the massive amount of misleading information. Not only that, Jokowi said that Indonesia should not only be a market for global digital technology products, it encourages the rapid development of innovative technology platforms.
Industri pers harus terus ditata. Iklim kompetisi yang lebih seimbang harus terus diciptakan. Perusahaan platform asing harus ditata, harus diatur agar semakin baik tata kelolanya. Kita perkuat aturan bagi hasil yang adil dan seimbang antara platform global dan lokal. Kita juga tidak boleh hanya menjadi pasar bagi produk teknologi digital global, dan harus secepatnya dibangun, dikembangkan platform-platform teknologi inovatif yang membantu dan memudahkan masyarakat mendapatkan informasi yang berkualitas, yang akurat, yang dapat dipertanggungjawabkan.
Bank Indonesia decided to maintain the benchmark interest rate or the BI 7 days reverse repo rate at the Board of Governors meetings on 9 and 11 and 10 February 2022. The deposit facility interest rate remained at 2.75% and the lending facility interest rate at 4.25%. Perry said the decision took into account the low inflation rate as well as an effort to encourage economic growth.
Gubernur Bank Indonesia pada 9 dan 10 Februari 2022 memutuskan untuk mempertahankan BI 7 day reverse repo rate sebesar 3,5%, 3,5%, suku bunga deposit facility tetap sebesar 2,75% dan suku bunga lending facility tetap sebesar 4,25%. Keputusan ini sejalan dengan perlunya menjaga stabilitas nilai tukar dan terkendalinya inflasi, serta sebagai upaya untuk tetap mendorong pertumbuhan ekonomi di tengah tekanan eksternal yang meningkat.
Based on the government's work plan, the Ministry of Transportation has 3 priority railway projects in 2022. The projects include the construction of high-speed trains in Java and the development of a mass public transportation system in 6 metropolitan areas. Director General of Railways at the Ministry of Transportation, Zulkifli, said that based on the government's work plan, the ministry has 3 priority railway projects in 2022. He explained that the 3 priority projects are first, the construction of the Makassar-Parepare Railway in the Maros Baru district segment at the length of 59.6 kilometers, along with the siding train from Mangilutonasa at 1.5 kilometers. Second, the construction of high-speed trains in Java, including Jakarta Semarang Railways and Jakarta Bandung Railways.
Bahwa pada tahun 2022, sasaran prioritas nasional yaitu memperkuat infrastruktur untuk mendukung pengembangan ekonomi dan pelayanan dasar melalui major project kereta api Makassar-Parepare, kereta cepat Pulau Jawa, dan sistem angkutan umum massal perkotaan di 6 wilayah metropolitan. Direktorat Jenderal Perkeretaapian mendapat alokasi sebesar 6,72 triliun. Kemudian dalam rangka mitigasi dampak berlanjut dan memburuknya kondisi pandemi COVID-19, terdapat automatic adjustment sebesar 155,93 miliar.
The third project is the development of a mass public transportation system in 6 metropolitan areas, including the construction of the Medan-Binjai flyover in Medan, then the Kiara Condong Cicalengka double track in Greater Bandung, and a number of railway facility projects in the Jabodetabek areas. Furthermore, he conveyed that apart from the development and improvement of the railway infrastructure, the ministry also prioritized short-haul train service programs in a number of regions. IDX Channel reports. Itamar Anoraya posted high net profit growth in 2021. Stay with us, Market Headlines will be back.
Ya halo pemirsa, nama saya Mangivera Tjong. Saat ini saya menjabat sebagai presenter dan juga associate producer. Saat ini saya membawakan program IDX Session Closing, di mana di program tersebut saya menganalisa isu-isu ekonomi yang menarik, baik dari luar negeri maupun juga dari dalam negeri. Tentunya hingga saat ini saya masih terus belajar dan saya sangat menikmati profesi tersebut.
Mungkin kalau kita ingin punya suatu usaha lah gitu ya. Pertama sih cari masalah dulu, cari apa permasalahan orang, lalu kita buat solusinya. Sehingga kita terus berinovasi seperti itu, sehingga ada produk-produk baru yang merupakan solusi bagi masalah yang ada di masyarakat.
Saya Mangivera Tjong dan rekan saya Wicky Adrian hadir dalam Power Breakfast.
Awali hari Anda dengan informasi dunia ekonomi yang diulas dari berbagai sudut pandang.
Indeks harga saham gabungan konsisten.
Simak pula analisa pasar modal dan inspirasi bisnis dari berbagai perusahaan rintisan. Power Breakfast, Senin sampai Jumat, pukul 8.00, hanya di IDX Channel.
You're watching Market Headlines. At the Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement earlier today, JCI was open at the level of 6,859.33. And then approaching the closing time on the first session, the index was on the level of 6,851.04. And then the index was showing weakening trend by the second session closing time. Index was closed at the level of 6,823.64. And in short, Jakarta Composite Index went down 0.16%. And next, we're going to see the sectoral movement. Leading the dynamics of today's trading, we got basic sector as the leader of strengthening trend that went up 1.96%. Transportation and logistic went up 1.19%. Technology went down 1.35%, and energy went down 1.24%. And moving on to top gainers and top losers, let's see the top gainers. Telkom went up 3.5% to the level of 4,430 rupiah. Antam went up 6.18% to the level of 1,890 rupiah per share. IATA went up 4.46% to the level of 164 rupiah. And KPIG went up 11.32% to the level of 118 rupiah per share. Meantime, the top losers for today's trading, we got Arto went down 6.04% to the level of 15,175 rupiah. Bank Central Asia went down 1.89% to the level of 7,800 rupiah. Astra International went down 1.8% to the level of 5,450 rupiah, and Adaro went down 2.26% to the level of 2,160. And let's see the movement of rupiah towards US dollar. Open at the level of 14,366 rupiah, showing strengthening trend towards US dollar, and it was closed at the level of 14,330. And in summary, rupiah went down 0.11%. Supported by COVID rapid test cells in 2021, Itamar Anoraya managed to record 1.32 trillion rupiah revenue, or an increase of 134% from full year 2020. Last year, Itamar Anoraya managed to record a brilliant performance, and this was reflected in revenue that grew more than 100%. Meanwhile, Itamar Anoraya recorded total revenue throughout 2021 of 1.32 trillion rupiah, or an increase of 134% compared to the same period in 2020 of 563.9 billion rupiah. The largest contribution was contributed by sales for the non-government segment, with sales of 663.8 billion rupiah, or grew 247% year-on-year, while sales for the government segment grew 76% year-on-year to 655.1 billion rupiah. With these results, the share of non-government sales of total revenue increased from 34% in 2020 to 50.3% in 2021. Based on products, sales of COVID rapid tests throughout 2021 contributed 71% of total revenue, or reached 939 billion rupiah. Meanwhile, sales of auto-disable syringe one-jack products reached 11%. IDX Channel reports. Kalbe Pharma will prepare a maximum fund of 1 trillion rupiah to realize the plan to buy back shares of a maximum of 588 million shares. The plan to buy back shares under fluctuating market conditions was conveyed by the President Director of Kalbe Pharma, Vijontius, through a company letter addressed to the Financial Services Authority or OJK and the Indonesia Stock Exchange. With the readiness of a maximum fund of 1 trillion rupiah to purchase a maximum of 588 million shares, the purchase price of Kalbe's buyback can reach a maximum of 1,700 rupiah per share. Furthermore, Vijontius said that the funds for the share buyback were sourced from internal cash and loans. He estimates that the impact of interest cost on loans is 29 billion rupiah per year. Indonesia Kendaraan Terminal or IPCC is targeting revenue and profit growth of 12 up to 15% in 2022. The management believes that positive catalysts for its performance came from industrial growth. In order to spur performance this year, Indonesia Kendaraan Terminal or IPCC is targeting revenue and profit growth of 12% to 15% year-on-year in 2022. There are already a number of factors that have become a source of optimism for the IPCC in boosting its performance. According to the Corporate Secretary of Indonesia Kendaraan Terminal, Sofyan Gumelar, the positive catalyst this year came from industrial growth, especially the automotive industry, manufacturing and mining and plantation commodities. Because as part of the industrial logistics ecosystem chain, the performance of loading and unloading services at the company's terminal will be greatly influenced by activities in the related industry. Among other things, the Belawan Terminal Medan, which began to be cooperated in early January this year. Furthermore, an assessment is carried out with terminals in Surabaya, Makassar, Balikpapan, and other terminals that can be used as vehicle terminal hubs. As for the capital expenditure budget for this year, the company's management is still recalculating. IDX Channel reports. And the news close our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic, business and capital market channel. I'm Fajar Wayong. Have a nice evening and stay safe.
Halo pemirsa, selamat pagi. Langsung dari area studio IDX Channel Jakarta, saya Mangivera Tjong dan rekan saya David Sanopal hadir dalam Power Breakfast.
Ya, kami hadir setiap pagi menemani Anda dengan menyajikan informasi ekonomi bisnis dan pasar modal khas Power Breakfast. Dan live streaming kami bisa Anda saksikan di idxchannel.com.
Ya, dan tak lupa kami terus mengingatkan untuk tetap menerapkan protokol kesehatan selama masa pandemi ini. Tentunya agar kita terbebas dari COVID-19. Dan pemirsa, mari kita ikuti